You're listening to this episode on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. Hit that subscribe button and leave us a comment. It would greatly benefit the show.
Oh, no, I'm doing it one-handed. I got a sandbag. That joke will make sense when you listen to the interview. So I work with a lot of South Asians, as I think I know my brother knows. And they were telling me a story after our sales kickoff, which is an annual thing people in white-collar corporate sales have to do. And they were saying they were with some colleagues in Germany, and you know how free speech is unique to the United States? Somebody made a joke like, you know, Hitler got a lot wrong, but he got the Autobahn correctly. And I would have never had that reference had a South Asian person not told me about that story. And like the conclusion of the story is that the person had to apologize or they would get fired in Germany because you don't have free speech. Oh. Whereas like...
Well, I mean, South Asians are kind of known to be more conservative.
I have no idea if South Asians are known to be more conservative.
They are. Yeah.
It's the highest earning group in the United States if you wanted to go by demographic data.
Because we work hard, that's why.
You're not South Asian, you're East Asian, aren't you?
No, I'm Southeast Asian, yeah.
Southeast, okay.
Yeah, I qualify.
I come as part of the South. Do we say welcome to Movie Baiters?
So welcome to the Death Race spoilers.
This is Movie Baiters with the Farx brothers. I'm Kirk.
And I'm Kyle.
Joining us is Eric Forsman, director, writer, producer, and cosplayer.
What do you mean cosplay is something bad? Can I tell you guys another terrible story that involves a friend? I won't say names here, but this is a real story that happened. So one of my friends was with a chick that I inadvertently introduced him to, and another of my friends was interested in that chick, and because we were not all of us, but the friend who was interested in the chick the other guy was with, we were all in like the same youth group in high school. And he was like, she's over at his house right now. Shouldn't we go and like say or do something? Because what if they have premarital sex? And I'm like, I don't care, but I also love drama. So what we found, and again, I haven't said any names, haven't said like, could these people figure out I'm talking about them? Sure. The friend who was with the girl, his father had from his father, so like my friend's grandfather, had taken trophies from World War II of like Germans. Like this was a thing that happened where like they took Nazis' uniforms, their hats, and so...
I think Christopher Lee actually did that. Like he was a Nazi hunter. Christopher Lee like did like heavy metal, total badass.
Yeah, and the guy who was Saruman.
Saruman, Count Dooku, plethora of roles.
My friend and this chick were role-playing in the outfits that were in. Wow. That, like, these weren't, like, on display in the house. These were in, like, the back of a closet because it was like, oh, no one can know we have these, but my, grandfather left these after. And I don't know if they were doing premarital sex. That's not for me to say, and that's other people's business. But it's just funny to have, like... I did not expect that.
Do you have different fetishes?
Eric, we're going to talk about how the Nazis end up in this movie, killed violently like Looney Tunes.
Yeah, like pure Wile E. Coyote tunnel style. They literally get like a giant build this like cardboard tunnel. They see a detour, they go through it, and they explode like the cartoon characters they were.
We're not a kink-shaming podcast. I paused just to but I think it'd be okay to kink-shame people who have like a fetish for dressing up like
Nazis,
the SS. Yeah.
That's weird.
I'm sure it's out there though, and the porn definitely exists.
Yeah.
Not because I've checked, but if you can think of it, it exists as porn. Rule 43 of the internet. Wait, is that a real one?
Why would you...
He knows internet rule. He was telling us
Rule 34?
No, Rule 43, I believe, is what it is, of the internet, where if you can think of it, it's already porn.
That's Rule 34.
I thought it's 34, not 43?
It's 34.
Okay. So
I'm outing myself. Yeah, it's 34.
Outing yourself as knowing a rule of the internet.
I stick in the depths of like the nerdy Wikipedia knowledge.
The more like terrible or like spicy the topic is, the more interested I am. I am personally very vanilla, but
there's just a lot of deaths in general with the rebellion with these cars. Like some of them like blow up, well, most of them just blow up. Just in general, there's kind of an irony with that, with the rebellion being so up against violence that they're literally killing the racers for that. I mean, this was also kind of early in the movie, but I didn't want to mention it until the spoiler section. I do find it funny that the Frankenstein guy, you know, you see him, he's like scarred and everything.
Yes.
And then when he takes off the mask, he's like incredibly handsome and everything.
Yeah.
What do you think the metaphor is there? Because I do think there's an intention, but I couldn't tell you what it is.
Well, isn't
I
his
think it's
back-
just because
Oh, go
ugliness sells sometimes. Like, you know, you look at the WWE, like, who do you think of? You think of, like, The Undertaker, who's, like, one of the, like, you know, grungy, kick your ass kind of thing.
Right.
Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like, you don't think of, like, you know, Ryan Gosling or Chris Evans. Like, you think of, like, these, like, bulky, tough, aggressive, like, all-stars. And those are kind of the people they root for. And in Death Race, that's kind of who you root for. The people's person is Frankenstein, Joe, who's in second place, and Stallone is still kind of in that, like, weird gangster kind of, like, look to it.
This is not long after he'd done the Italian Stallion, I believe.
Yeah, right.
There was an
Southport
actual...
Cornell? Wait, do you want to explain the movie?
Yeah,
Oh, Italian Stallion. I thought you were talking, like, his nickname was
yeah, that was his
No,
nickname.
he was in a
Did he
movie
do-
called Italian Stallion, which is like
Oh,
softcore
that
porn.
makes it even weirder that his nickname in Rocky is the Italian Stallion then,
I
isn't
think
it?
it was a reference to.
Oh, so it's Easter egg.
It's an Easter egg for, you know.
The thing with Undertaker, he's never a new person pretending to be Undertaker.
What I mean is, like, his look. Like, you know, like, when you
Yeah.
think, like, The Undertaker, you're not thinking of, like, a nice Mr. Rogers kind of fella. Like, you're thinking of, like, the toughest, like, you know, meanest, like, looking guy. And, like, he's, like, one of the most beloved, like, wrestlers in WWE history.
Are you a WWE guy? You have.
I think the history is kind of interesting. I know some of the stuff, like the Gobbledygooker, which is like this turkey dude.
The what? Gobbledygooker?
Yeah, literally the same debut as The Undertaker. They have this like giant egg, and like people were speculating if it's going to be a comeback or anything. But no, the Gobbledygooker is like this guy who comes out, and it's like a guy dressed as a turkey, and that's just pretty much the entire gimmick.
And he wrestles.
And he wrestles. The turkey that wrestles. Just like the undead man that also wrestles. And the clown that also wrestles. And etc. That also
What's his
wrestles.
finishing move? Is it like a turkey-related finishing move?
I think he's just kind of just there as like a Thanksgiving wholesome character.
You should stuff the other opponent.
Yeah.
There you
right?
go. That should be good right there. The stuffing.
I'm going to give you some stuffing. Gobble, gobble, bitch. Did he ever say gobble, gobble, bitch?
No, he just makes turkey noises. It's kind of like a sports mascot where it's kind of like, you know, he just goes around and he just makes turkey noises.
He's a wholesome character, Kyle.
Mascots can't talk.
Technically, yeah, they can't.
That's
Ever, right? Yeah.
No, they can't.
Cereal mascots talk.
Cereal mascots are different from sports mascots. Sports mascots can't talk, but cereal mascots have to say, "Eat my honey smack heroines" or whatever. Is that a
Right.
frog?
Smacks?
It's a frog, right?
Yeah, Smacks.
It's
Frogs.
His name was Smacks?
Well, I think the cereal was called Smacks.
Yeah, it was Honey. Was it Honey Smacks or just
I think it was
Smacks?
Honey Smacks.
Never heard of that one.
What? Really? I think they changed the name because of, heroin being called Smack.
I was a Kicks kid, so no, I never heard of that.
You were into kicks?
Yeah.
That was like the most like
Plain, basic.
I was about to say that's the most plain option out there.
That did it for me.
I respect the hustle though.
Yeah, thanks.
The 5 racers. Was there... I didn't think there were enough racers, to be honest.
Yeah.
With you.
I didn't think so either.
No
I think
way.
it would have been much better if they were like maybe like 12 and like they just got and they like you could have like a plethora of them that don't matter blow up in the background. I mean this reminded me of like this Tom and Jerry film I used to watch, The Fast and the Furry, where it's a very similar thing where basically it's like 8 racers or something like that, and like these racers are like also kind of taken down one by one as they go around the world, and like they have like all these distinct personalities. There's like this Lord of Darkness, and there's a soccer mom, and there's like this old lady.
When did this movie come out?
It came out around I think 2002, 3 or 4.
Definitely after Fast and Furious.
Yeah, after
right?
Fast and
Yeah.
Furious.
Yeah.
But I think it was like around 2000, maybe 2003, I think it was.
Okay, so around Too Fast, Too Furious.
Yeah.
Man, I love that. Ebert is, as it relates to Death Race 2000, is thought to have changed his opinion on the movie in the aggregate because he referred to Fast and the Furious as existing in the grand tradition of Death Race 2000. I do think there's a lot of DNA from, Fast and Furious to Death Race, but there's also DNA to like the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
Death Race 2000 kind of had a lot of influence. And that's also because thanks to the late Roger Corman, who does like a lot of like crazy stuff, and like he also is responsible for bringing a lot of actors. Like Stallone in this, and like I can't remember the other car movie, but it's like with Jack Nicholson. That's like how he started. So I guess
Easy Rider? No.
No, he was the producer of this movie.
Yeah, Roger Corman.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, what would be the... Roger Corman wasn't Little Shop of Horrors, the 60s one with Jack Nicholson.
I think he was, actually.
Oh, okay, so Jack Nicholson, that's... I just remember that he's in the original.
Yeah, he was also like in this car movie as well, like being inspired by Rollerball. I think in comparison, like I think this even performs better than like Rollerball and bringing that like wackiness to it. I mean, you look at the car designs; they look like they kind of look like something out of a theme park rather than like something like NASCAR or something like that. They like have like these dragon kind of looks, which is
Oh, sorry.
I was about to say these like dragon looks, like Frankenstein's car is like these fangs and this red eye on the car.
I think it's a hodag.
A hodag.
It's a hodag?
Or is it a Wendigo? I think it's a hodag. It looks like a hodag to me.
What's a hodag?
It's a type of monster that is specific to the UP, potentially. But I know hodag is a thing.
I think it's like a dog and dragon mix.
A mythical creature from Wisconsin folklore, often depicted as a large, fearsome beast with horns, spikes, and possibly frog-like head. That definitely describes
like
Frankenstein's.
No, that sounds about right. In general, just seeing how crazy this is, like including like the many people that got killed in this movie, and some of these people like straight up kind of like build that up. Like every time they stop by Joe, they're like, "Oh, you know, I loved your work and everything." Yeah, really? Yeah, I love Frankenstein. And then it's like, you got 2 seconds, like this poor fisherman who just starts running up the creek and everything, going down Schitt's Creek in quite a literal sense. With
the construction workers are the first to get killed, and that's like where I found out that the point of the movie was killing. Was at that point. And I do think there is a socioeconomic, satiric comment point
because
there.
all the working people are getting killed?
Yeah, the working people are the first to get screwed over. Like, hey, tariffs or something, you know.
Yeah, I mean, even like, but you could also argue some of it's like more corporation. Like with Frankenstein, he doesn't go, like, they set up the elderly people because they costed the most points in this movie. And they're straight up like right on the road and they're ready to die. Like they're just chilling. But he goes after the nurses and everything instead. And then he also tries to aim for who is referred to as Mr. President. That's his whole goal in the movie, revealed that like he plans to take down Mr. President after all of the stuff like, you know, that he had to go through. So you could even say like, while everyone else is like going after citizens and everything, more about the points and everything, Frankenstein goes after more of the corporations and leaders behind the scenes.
Wasn't he kind of, oh sorry.
Is he a government agent or...
No, his navigator is a double agent.
Yeah, no, is he some kind of government agent? Because he talks about... I
think it's more of like an experiment.
Yeah, but who's funding that? Is that what the...
I think they were just kind of like building... I think they were just building up the president, you know, as like the ultimate racer, kind of like their little mascot, because they keep saying the president and Frankenstein have like these connections and everything. Well, until the very end when he blows up and he becomes the president, which is kind of interesting. So I guess if you won the race and you killed the guy, you technically become president.
You keep what you kill.
You become the president now. Like that's kind of interesting, you know. Or did people vote for the guy? Because
I doubt they voted for him.
I don't know. I mean, you know, the people seem to really like him in the game.
Yeah,
they might have just said, you know, he killed all these guys, you know, and his name is Frankenstein. You know, we don't get a cool name like that. Let's vote for this guy.
So talking about politics and then moving into one of the things you're also supposed to talk about is they like open with a prayer, and it's unclear to me, like, it seems...
Do they? I don't remember.
Yeah, they even like have like a Pope guy like still do that a couple of times, and then like he also gets ran over, and then like they literally debate about whether or not
it's worth points.
Yeah, it's worth points. There's also Frankenstein also has a bunch of groupies that like, you know, go and die for him, which there are fandoms like that. Well, not in, you know, quite a literal like kill me and everything, but like, you know, quite ride or die type of fandoms like that. Basically anything like Zack Snyder, Taylor Swift, they got like a lot of fans.
Yeah, they can never do wrong. Yeah,
like really obsessive fans of the work.
I'm a big fan of the new conspiracy theory that Taylor Swift and her mother have like called up other pop stars and threatened them.
Oh, I threatened them what? Death?
Well, not death, but like don't cross me, or you know, you don't release an album within 2 weeks of me. That, you know, that kind of thing. I don't know.
I don't think she cares enough. I think she's popular enough to release it anytime she wants.
Sure.
You're not gonna
Swiftie.
debate that?
I just want to get the Swifties really into like, attacking the pod and the baits. Then we get a Swiftie on here.
Well, you just gotta say Taylor Swift sucks.
Taylor Swift doesn't suck. She's very capable and
I liked her when she was doing country music.
Better?
Yeah, I think she lost her thread.
Where are you at with Snyder?
Zack Snyder, I think he does good movies. I wasn't too big on his DC works. I thought his Snyder Cut was decent, but like I'm welcoming with James Gunn and everything. I'm glad they were kind of like, I think there is a loud vision to kind of like, do something new and everything. Is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? I don't know. I don't think like going after the previous person doesn't really work. I mean, look at like almost every time someone brings up the Joker. Jack Nicholson, he can't be the Joker. You can't match Cesar Romero. Heath Ledger, you can't do Heath Ledger. Joaquin Phoenix, that guy's too old to play him and everything.
He definitely was in Folie à Deux.
Yeah, he's a terrible.
I'm still gonna talk about the qualities of Folie à Deux. Me and Quentin Tarantino got that on lock.
I mean, I didn't even think it was that bad.
No, I was entertained. I would like to watch.
It wasn't bad, but it certainly wasn't good.
Yeah.
Which is worse, Emilia Perez or Folie à Deux?
I think I was more disappointed in Joker 2 for sure, but I still dislike Emilia Perez a lot more than Joker.
Was it because you're bigoted?
Yeah, I do hate them. I don't know. No, of course not.
Was there an exploding baby in Death Race 2000?
Yes, there was.
Well,
it was like right on a picnic basket.
It wasn't real.
Yeah, it was like, it was a fake baby. But no, it's actually kind of funny. It brings up also kind of a debate of, because I've seen people like label it as like genuine good or so bad it's good. And there's been movies like that where Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, The Killer Clowns from Outer Space, like that one for the longest of time got labeled as so bad it's good. But like now recently Killer Clowns is labeled as genuinely good. I'm on that side where I think it's just genuinely good, and now it's become like super mainstream. It's got its own video game. Spirit Halloween is like decorated that with like everything. And now with Death Race, that also kind of comes up like, is the over the topness like, intentional or not? And I think it's intentional in the best ways possible.
I didn't feel like it was over the top enough, though. There wasn't a lot of... All they've done is just run over people or impale them with... Was that Joe's sword hood? Ornament?
I do think they could have used a little bit more gadgets.
Yeah.
Like I said, honestly, if George Miller did like a wacky racist movie, I'd be the first one in that seat, because I know like they would just do like the wackiest shit with like have like violent gadgets like coming out of the cars, like a glove box and everything, just punching the other cars.
Well, you guys are 25 James Bond. You exist in a time where 25 James Bond movies have been made, whereas like at this point there were only like 5.
Yeah, but I am also not a big James Bond guy, so I have no reference to all his gadgety cars.
Like when people think of gadgets in like the American cinema landscape, and in terms of like they didn't have as much ability to do VFX. So everything had to be SFX.
When did was it Blade Runner, the original, come out?
1982.
I mean, they predicted some futuristic equipment. They were pretty close to.
Well, I think
predicting the future.
I was gonna say if we're talking about more practical with like car stunts, if you want to look at like a good one, 1963. It's a mad. I think there's 4 mads. World, like they were doing like some incredible like deadly stunts with like vehicles and everything that probably they couldn't do today, just because of like how dangerous some of those stunts were. I think like that had a lot more action packed than the Deadly Race movie that we saw.
Yeah.
Aren't the budgets for these movies wildly different?
That's fair. I think because Roger Corman had a very low budget on this.
$1 million or less.
I think this is definitely less than $1 million.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
And it made 4 or 5.
I mean, it wasn't considered a flop, right? But it wasn't.
It was
well
considered
received.
critically trounced, but not a flop in money terms.
Yeah, it became like kind of just became like a cult classic over time.
Classic, yeah.
None of us watched it until this past week.
Yeah,
pretty much.
The president is Trump. Is that?
No.
I mean, they have in the sequel, Roger Corman.
2050.
Yeah. they literally have the guy based on him.
Oh.
Wait, the guy based on
Trump.
when did 2050 come out?
It's like 2017.
Oh, okay. I
For the
haven't seen that one.
reboot series?
Well, no,
Is it
this
It's a
one was
Lego sequel.
This was a legacy sequel.
Oh, okay.
Which I haven't seen,
I read about it, but I haven't seen
but
it.
I'm assuming that the plan of banning the races didn't work.
Yeah, and again, I don't like. That's where I struggle with the rebels in this movie. Is that like generally, do I agree the races are bad? Yes, but it's kind of like the Purge. The only way to fix the problems of the Purge is to go even more extreme after. And the Purge movies get pretty political.
I think in
Definitely
general,
the fourth one.
I was about to say in general, I do think the rebellion presence kind of dwindles around the second act. Like, I kind of forgot that they were a thing until the third act. I'm like, oh yeah, there was like a rebellion right there.
They're not in it that much. They don't. I mean, they try to kill the racists, but they don't do. A whole heck lot,
honestly,
yeah.
there's a lot more in the announcers. Which again, I'm not complaining. Like Don Steele does like an electrifying performance and like getting any hype for out there with anytime he does like some announcements. And at the very end, like was very satisfying. Like. Because, like, this guy was going to get ran over the entire film. And then he goes up in the car and he's just, like, complaining. He's like, no, what about the death rate? You're portraying everyone with that. And they just do one last run over just for the sake of it.
Like, what's wrong with me that I enjoy watching people get killed in movies? I know they're not actually being killed. What, you know?
I get it with running people over. I run over people in like Grand Theft Auto all the time. You don't obey traffic laws. It's like a fantasy that you
Which
can watch.
Grand Theft Auto are you playing?
Grand Theft Auto, one of the 3D ones. Grand Theft Auto 4, San Andreas.
Vice City?
Yeah, I've played Vice City. Yeah, it's fun to watch the people run and just hit them and they just fly right over your car. It's poorly animated.
Don't you get more health by banging hookers or sex workers?
Do you? I thought you just recover health. I don't think you get more.
Okay, you recover.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, that's the mechanic.
And then you can get out, beat them up, and not have to pay them.
No, you're literally murdering them to get your money back. You don't beat them up; they're dead. And you take the money out of their body.
Murder them.
Yeah.
I only
Terrible.
ever encountered this in high school around the same time that I was encountering like South Park.
Wait,
So
what
it's
about
like,
the video game?
the what?
What about in the video game? You experienced that for real?
No, in the Grand Theft Auto, I only played, or I don't think I even played it. I just hung out with my friends who were playing it back like 20 years ago.
Sorry, I was about to say, it's
please.
interesting we're bringing this up because like there was a video game that literally came out the year after this film, also called Death Race.
Yeah.
By coincidence, where that actually got a lot of controversy because like it literally is about running over people, but it's like these pixels and everything, like these like stick people like walking around, and it's like they're goblins, and like you run them over and they turn into like little gravestones.
So what are the options?
They're goblins. Shouldn't that give them more leeway than that human that you're running over?
It was the 70s. It was weird. Like 70s were like, whoa, this is like the best thing ever, and it's like, 2 pixels like going back and forth.
It wouldn't be until the next decade when we'd have satanic panic over Dungeons and Dragons.
The imaginary play, yeah.
Yes, and I'm of the camp that I think people who are relaxed by watching violent movies or playing violent video games, you're probably subduing them from being more violent themselves elsewise.
I mean, it's kind of ironic because, like, some of the most, like, hardcore horror fans and everything are, like, the most wholesome people, like, you meet and everything. Like they'll have, like, this grungy look, like, and everything. Like, they look like they're, like, about to be up. But, like, they'll come in and they'll be like, oh, hi, how is it going? Welcome to the community. We just made some cookies over here. Would you like some?
Yeah, the horror community is welcoming. And are you a Terrifier guy? Have you watched any of them?
I have not seen the Terrifier movies, but I've been meaning to. But I am aware of their context and everything, and the violence in that movie as well.
Yeah, I still haven't seen anything except one.
I know. I've seen like all the Saw movies.
Wait, even Jigsaw?
Yeah, even Jigsaw. I've seen all the
Spiral?
Final Destination, which that's another similar thing to Death Race, except Final Destination is a little too over the top for my taste.
Really?
Well, yeah, I think the Rube Goldberg death thing just gets a little too cartoony for me. Like it's supposed to be taken seriously, but it's like this like matchstick that sets off these dominoes and it sets off this death trap. I'm probably going to see the next. I am seeing the next movie soon. Yeah.
Hell yeah!
Which R.I.P. Tony Todd. I did see him at Comic-Con. Very tall, but very genuine. Told me to be. Literally wrote on my. I had an autograph from him, and he literally wrote, "Be careful."
Oh, was that a warning?
I mean, I was telling him this story that, like, when I was driving to Twin Cities Con, I was right next to a car that was, like, carrying a bunch of wood.
Oh,
so,
nice.
Do not need to remake Final Destination 2.
So even though you're a Zillennial, when you drive behind a log-carrying truck, you're like, not today, Satan.
Logs, ladders, nope.
I had a pilot that looked like Tony Todd this year, and did I message you and Nick about it? And Nick was like, no, he never died. Yeah, now he's just a pilot. He didn't want people to stop him because
he was tired of Hollywood. Yeah.
I love conspiracies like that. That like because I like Tony Todd. You know, Candyman. Wait, how do you feel about Candyman?
Okay, that's another one I'm still like going after.
You haven't seen it. You want to go watch it?
I want to see the Candyman movie. Yes.
You haven't seen the reboot, right?
No, I haven't seen the reboot.
Oh, it's a reboot, not a.
There's a reboot too.
Yeah.
It's vaguely connected.
There's a reboot of everything these days.
Yeah.
Well, is it a reboot or is it a Lego sequel? When you watch, you can. Determine for yourself. I have tried with the Candymans. It's not my
cup of tea.
Yeah, but I watched it. Like I was happy to be a part of the culture for a moment, and that's why it's nice when like a horror movie is mainstream. Like having Sinners mainstream is nice because I had a long conversation about violence with my mother over text today because they watched my niece and nephew while my brother-in-law and I went to you were there to watch Sinners again last night. And when I look at a movie like Death Race 2000, it's like 50 years ago when you guys were first married, you had the most stupid and you know, it was pretty violent with dark ideas. Like, why can't you grapple with something that's so well crafted it's clearly going to be lauded?
Well, to be fair, I guess they never seen that kind of violence, especially on film, right?
Well, it's also like another thing that's kind of noted is like a lot of the deaths now are like done digitally, like in CGI and everything, where here it's a lot more practical. Like you could see like you know, like where a head explodes, like that actually happens like on the set, where it's easier in more modern stuff, especially if like more cheaper modern stuff, where it's like, you know, it's obvious CGI, or if it sometimes is practical, you know, watermelon head.
I mean, it's a lot less graphic. It's kind of fast. You just see them run over and then the body just kind of
It is mostly
implodes.
like red paint, kind of.
I was debating like having it on in front of the kids because I was finishing it in here before this, and we're in the man cave, and one of the kids was running around and occasionally looking, and then the only time that made me go, well, I don't want to like give the impression that I'm uncomfortable with her seeing female nudity, but like I don't, you know, feel that I should necessarily put that in front of her yet, but not make like a big deal of boobs, you know.
Yeah, I will say, the nudity was kind of like, it just kind of exists in this movie.
It was very 70s.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's very 70s. Could have done without it.
Well, there's also like choking the woman. I didn't like that.
No.
I mean, I wouldn't censor this. It speaks to a different time and sensibility.
Well, yeah, but choking still happens during newer movies.
Terrible.
Yeah, it's terrible all around.
Think about the way Quentin Tarantino wrote about it in the Inglourious Basterds script.
I mean, there was also like, I think one of the more powerful ones was like, you know, like having the character like literally like being told to like come to the car, and it's like, no, not in the back. You gotta like walk to the front, and then they just have them like stay there, like not knowing if they're gonna be ran over. I think that's more of a powerful scene right there. Like just because then you don't, because like when it's like with Frankenstein, when he does that, it's like you don't know if like, because we don't know like his full intentions. We don't know if Frankenstein. We just know he wants to win the race, and we don't know if he's gonna like run them down or not with his car. I think that serves more than like the chokehold or any of that.
Okay, let's go back to can you lose the race to Los Angeles from New York, but win in points?
Yeah.
Now that's
what they say. I mean, if you have more points, even before you finish the race, you still win.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like they don't have like a point board or anything, so they don't really show like, you know, I mean, we assume that Frankenstein is in the lead because like all the people he ran over, and like they keep mentioning like how Joe is in second.
Yeah.
So we don't know for sure if like there's like the point board or not, and they even like argue with the technicality, like I said, when they ran over the Pope-like figure. Not entirely sure.
I mean, I also don't understand why they don't drive at night. I mean, I get it for budget. Like, you don't want to film at night, you're probably not going to see that much. But there are also no other cars on the road. This isn't...
And there's no camera car at any point. Like, how are people getting updates? I guess, well, back until, like, the 80s, to talk about sports some more, there used to be, like, it was just people who would go to a payphone at different, like, for instance, NFL games, call into the sports radio station and be like, and the score is this at this point in the game, because, you know, we didn't have the same level of access to communication that we did. But clearly Death Race 2000 knew that communication and televising, promoting the media around this sport would be important.
But there are also no other, like, fans watching from the road, like, in the stadium area?
Except that one fandom that literally, like, sacrificed someone. But, yeah, no, there's literally no... Like, they literally have, like, the rebellion, like, out there, like, you know... Foreman traps literally right on the road. So, like, yeah, you're right. There is, like, no cameras, nothing that, like, you know, set up for that. Like, if there was, like, the crew probably would have prevented or let them know about the rebellion, like, interacting. Although they're trying to hide it as the French, oddly enough, in this.
No, I like blaming the French. It's ironic because they give us the Statue of Liberty.
Well, I guess the argument can be made that if there are camera people out there, the racers might try to kill them and score points.
So you need in the year 2000, you would need drone cameras or something.
Yeah.
Earlier when we were talking about the resistance, it's Thomasina Paine, who's supposed to be a descendant of the American Revolutionary War hero Thomas Paine. She's the one that plans the rebellion.
I didn't make that connection.
She kind of has like this Mary Whitehouse or Helen Lovejoy kind of connection, you know. Won't you please think of the children?
She has an Agatha brooch on her, like the Agatha Harkness brooch that she has in the comics, that she's wearing one of those. But what I thought of it as is like, oh, she's got a America inside of America because America's being too British.
She literally has like the American flag like every time, like 4 American flags in the background, like all hanging around as like she's televising, like just to show like, you know, this is like a national approach for ending these races.
I had a sick thought, and it's not that sick. Was Trump the first president to go to a Super Bowl, like in person?
No, I don't know.
I keep feeling like Ronald Reagan might have.
I
know he did baseball. But
there's like the president throwing out the first pitch at a game, but I don't think a president had gone to a Super Bowl, probably because of the optics of, hey, this is the most expensive ticket in, you know, sports, and
crazy.
If you have a politician there, but, you know, I'm not going to comment on.
It is kind of funny how all these apocalypse movies, like the president or whatever future leader, whether it's a president or a dictator or a king, they always get like the front seat, like right in front of like this giant deadly game with like weapons scattered everywhere. Or even in like stuff like Gladiator, like they're like straight up like kind of like watching the peasants duke it out for them.
It's crazy. They barely have any security either. That's like
the first.
Well, that was the 70s too. Like there wasn't too much security.
Yeah, they'd only killed Jack Kennedy 10 years prior. The first sitting U.S. president to attend a Super Bowl in person was Donald Trump. He made history by attending the Super Bowl in New Orleans, as Ryan Baby Goose pronounces it, in February 2025. And actually, sick and wrong, but do you remember what happened the night before the Super Bowl in New Orleans? There was a guy who got through some barriers and ran over a bunch of people. And I hate to, I pay too much attention to the news. That's why I'm always curious about these things. And what a weird connection to this movie.
I was about to say, did that pop into mind when watching this movie at all?
No, it just popped into my mind now while we were talking about it for over an hour. that we talked about this movie for over an hour, and just now because I had the thought of like, oh yeah, Donald Trump was like the first sitting U.S. president, and then the day, because like they had to make that decision weeks in advance for Secret Service reasons, but the day before, a guy ran his car into a bunch of people. And then someone blew up a car in front of Trump Tower like 2 days later.
I'm surprised he still went. Then.
Yeah, no, I was about to say it's actually interesting with like the strategy they do with Frankenstein. Like they do like this fake out with like the rebellion daughter. Like she gets shot. And then, like, he literally is, like, revealed to be, like, hiding, like, right under the car and just straight up just slams the brakes and just drives right into the stage all fine.
Yeah, I definitely would. Okay, so we'll go to end this. Should we go around? And there's a final question Kirk will ask you, Eric, but would you recommend people watch this movie? I think I would unabashedly recommend people watch this movie. It's on Jeff Bezos' streaming service. You just have to watch it.
Yeah, it's on Tubi right now.
Do it Tubi. Yeah, go to Tubi over Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, exactly. Tubi is free. I absolutely would. I think if you're looking for some good camp, you know, like Phantom of the Paradise, 60s Batman, like this kind of stuff is like, you know, it's the right amount of over the top where it's actually good. And honestly, I could literally see this film being premiered at like the Alamo Drafthouse. Like this is like Alamo Drafthouse material to watch a film on.
I will bait you in the sense that I think people should watch the movie not for the camp, but for the satire. The satire that was not clear at the time that it came out, but now 50 years on has something that we can grab.
No, that's a valid reason. I think
I want to beat you. Disagree with me.
I'm too nice.
Right, it's fine.
I guess you watch it because it's such a short movie. It's not gonna take up most of your time.
Exactly.
Yeah, and very short movie.
If you're listening to this and this is when you decide to watch it,
longer than the movie. Yeah.
Trust me, it's still gonna be weirder and more like nuts than you're even expecting. I feel like we've gone over. There's Nazis. There's nudity. They don't handle.
It's basically real life wacky races, if you
except the Baron is, it's not World War I, it's World War II. But there's like people first 2 minutes of the movie, people in the stands pulling out Nazi flags.
There's also like this like futuristic city like that never gets mentioned yet. Like there's like this mad painting of like this like retro futurism, like Jetsons like stage and everything, and like never gets brought up again. Like it just becomes like a regular like 70s kind of vibe for the rest of it. But you got like Stallone in like this like Chicago like 1920s mafia like act look and everything.
They made the Italian guy a stereotype. Look at it all over again.
That's how it goes. To wrap things up, can you give us a tease for what's coming up in your interview segment?
Well, you find out a lot about a bit of myself. You find out a lot about talks about Z-Fest and just the strangeness of film in general and just the wackiness that movies go.
Thank you for joining us in our non-spoilers.
I had a terrible joke for the end.
Okay, go ahead.
It's not enough to be against the races. You also need to be an anti-racer. With respect to Ibrahim Kennedy, who is a hustler.
I think that's a great place to end it. Catch us in our interview segment. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening. For more on JK Productions, find us on Instagram at JK Productions Team and on Facebook, JK Productions MN.